The thing that really gets my back up is why you had to lie to me about it.
About what?
You know perfectly well.
I do not, Gilbert.
I asked you once if there was anyone else, and you said no. And then not long after, Charlie Sloane said he'd seen you out with Roy Gardner, not once, but twice.
When you asked me that, I'd never even heard of Roy. I met him next day in the park.
Oh, well, if that's the truth, then I apologize.
Well, that's very kind of you, Gilbert. But if you'd rather take Charlie Sloane's word for things than mine, then I don't really care what you think.
Well, he seems all right. Would you like some cocoa?
Not for me, thank you, Marilla. I think I'll go to bed. I have a headache. Good night.
Good night.
Oh, Gilbert, don't go for a minute, will you? I'm worried about Anne.
If you mean about Roy Gardner's intentions, there's no need to be. I'm sure he means to marry her.
His mother's against it.
So am I. But he's of age. Doesn't matter what his mother thinks, she'll have to come round in the end.
She's trying to find out about Anne's mother.
Find out what?
Whatever there is to find out.
Anne's mother was a school teacher, wasn't she? And when she died, this Mrs. Thomas took Anne.
Yes. That's what they told Anne.
Well?
Oh, I don't know. It may well be true, but I've often wondered why. The Thomases were very poor, and the baby had no claim on them. Anne mentioned once that Mrs. Thomas had a younger sister who'd left home. She would have been about 16 when Anne arrived.
Well, does it matter?
It doesn't to us, Gilbert. But Mrs. Gardner's different. She wouldn't want her son to marry a nobody.
Well, if she wants to make inquiries, no one can stop her.
I know that. But if there were anything that would come out that would hurt Anne, I'd rather she heard it from someone who knows her. I'd go to Bolingbroke myself to find out, but I wouldn't know how to go about it.
Oh, thank you, Jimsy. You're an angel.
Jimsy, you're a shocking flirt. He never says pretty things like that to me. You think I'm too frivolous, don't you?
No, not really. I think for reasons best known to yourself, you wear a sort of top dress in a frivolity.
Oh, don't be disgusting, Joe. You make it sound like fertilizer. Perhaps you think I can't cook. You'd be right, of course. I can't. But if I can cope with differential calculus, you don't imagine I'd be floored by a cookery book, do you?
No.
Joe, dear, have you taken a vow of celibacy?
Phil, you know the kind of life I want to lead and the kind of people I want to help, but if you love someone, you don't offer them deprivation.
Deprivation? Oh, be careful now. That's not just yourself you're belittling. Are you saying what you've got in your life is worth less than my parents have got in theirs?
No, by heaven, I'm not.
Is it too precious to share, then?
No.
Too precious to share with me, you mean? Well, that's honest, anyway. Now, hurry along to your meeting, or you'll be late.
Look, Phil, you must know...
Oh, please, Jimsy, not till I tell you to come out. Please, honey. You were saying?
I was saying that if I thought I had any hope at all...
Phil! Oh, go away! What? Oh, never mind. Too late now.
No, it isn't. I was saying that if I thought I had any hope at all, I'd ask you to marry me this minute. You don't answer me.
I make it a rule never to answer any proposal of marriage couched in the subjunctive.
Will you marry me, Phil?
Oh, dear, oh, my, oh, mercy. Jonas Blake, who ever dreamed of such a thing? You must give me time to think it over. Oh, yes, please, dear darling Joe. When? Oh, Jimsy. Jimsy!
I'm going to be married.
Jonas, you can come out now. You'll never guess what's happened.
But look, when he does ask you to marry him, what will you say?
Gilbert, you asked me to meet you because you had something important to tell me. Now, if all you're going to do is sound me out about Roy...
I've got to know, Anne. Not for myself, but in connection with the matter I want to talk to you about.
If Roy asks me to marry him, that will be the time to decide on an answer, and he will be the one to give it to.
2 coffees, please.
Now, what is it that you wish to talk to me about?
Anne, I've been to Bolingbroke. I found a Shirley on the electoral register. I've got the address.
What right have you got to do that?
Marilla asked me to try and find out the facts, but it's your affair and nobody else's. That's why I arranged this meeting. I can't go any further without your consent.
Well, you don't have my consent. I know the facts.
But Anne, you don't know for sure. Ever since Charlie put a doubt in your mind, you've been afraid to think about it, and that's no good.
My mother was good. She was beautiful. She and my father loved each other. I know it. Roy believes it. But you don't.
Anne, I don't know. But I don't think that loving someone means making up pretty pictures of how you'd like things to be and shutting your eyes to anything that doesn't fit in. If you really love someone, you can better know anything about them that you have to know, and it doesn't make any difference.
I don't understand why Marilla asked you to do this.
Mrs. Gardner asked about your birth certificate. She talked to Marilla about making inquiries. Thank you.
I must go there myself. Only I'm afraid.
Well, can't you ask someone to go with you? How about Roy?
No, not Roy. I don't suppose you'd come with me, would you?
Yes, I remember your mother and father well. It's going a long way back, mine. All of 20 years.
Yes.
Anyway, this is the room you was born in. I don't use it now, except when my sister comes.
It's very kind of you to show me about the place.
Oh, yes. No 2 ways about it where you got that red hair from. Your complexion very like your dad. You favor your ma and your eyes and mouth. She was a nice little thing. My daughter went to school to her, and she was nigh crazy about her. It was sad them catching the fever and both dying of it. Your ma and pa, I mean.
Yes.
Would you excuse me? I gotta see to the baby. I'm looking after it for a friend. Just make yourself comfortable.
I'm so glad I came.
Even though the king and queen won't be coming?
Who told you about that?
You did. One day in the dell at Avonlea.
Isn't it strange? My mother looked out on these houses. The window faces east, too. They would have got the sun in the morning when they woke up. Just think of it. My mother was younger than I am now when I was born.
Here's a box of old letters I found on top of the wardrobe when I came here. Well, I don't know what they are. I didn't bother to look in them, but the address on the top is Miss Bertha Willis. Now, that was your ma's maiden name. You can have 'em if you care to take 'em.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, the furniture was all sold to pay the doctor's bills, and Mrs. Thomas got your ma's clothes and little things.
I haven't a single thing of my mother's. I can never thank you enough for these.
You're welcome. Lost, but your eyes is like your ma's. She could just about talk with hers. Your dad was sort of homely, but awful nice. I mind hearing folks say when they was married that there never was 2 people more in love with each other. Poor critters. They didn't live much longer. But they was awful happy when they was alive, and I suppose that counts for a good deal. Oh, she's off again. Just sit down and read 'em.
Gilbert, listen. It's to my father. Every time I hear the train whistle, I think 2 more days and you'll be home. I always wake early when you aren't here. Anne is still sleeping fast with her thumb in her mouth. I think I love her best when she's asleep and better still when she's awake. The sky is getting lighter and all the birds are waking up. Spring has come. Oh, my dear love, I know it's going to be such a happy one.